Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, Rhino Bucks, I made such an error. So this morning I went because it stayed at the all-time high yesterday. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me just buy a little bit of it, like a little bit. I want to buy 0.001, which comes out to being like, I think like 30 bucks worth. I was like, I'll buy 30 bucks worth and then just throw the rest into the liquidity pool. Well, I bought zero point zero 0.01, which comes out to like $300 worth. So I saw Rhino jump up to like 269, and I thought it jumped up on $30. I was like, yes, that's awesome. Like, look how great this is. I get to put all the rest into the liquidity pool. But then I saw somebody sold 60 Rhino. I was like, that's obnoxious. Who was that? Like, it's so funny. They did it right away. I couldn't find it. I looked everywhere. Apparently this wallet did 25,000 transactions in like the last 2 days. Remember how I had said that we purposely buy small amounts, like $30, maybe $60 worth, because we had the bots that were coming in and buying and selling and front running us. Well, because we bought $300 worth, there was a bot that bought 60 before us and then sold it for $61 after us right away. In fact, that bot I think made like 60 cents, which is good. God bless them. But I'm not really interested in bots scalping us. Like, that's 60 cents. That may not sound like a lot, but to me, it's like 60 cents to my Rhino. Like, that's for Rhino. Like, how dare you? I got really upset. But we're at 268 something. So, I mean, it's not the worst news in the world, but I really wanted that to go into liquidity pool. Because I'll tell you, between you and I, I'm really uncomfortable how high it is. I don't like how high it is. I just don't. Because when it moves this high this quickly, it inevitably is going to grab someone's attention where they're like, oh, great. 220 a month ago, now it's 270. It's a big move. Like, we're not talking about baby moves anymore. We were just 220 like about a month ago. That means from 220 to 270, what's that, like 20%? It's a real deal move. And everybody knows that this is only the beginning of the story. So it's not like, all right, and then that person sold, and then that was the end of Rhino. No, there's no one person that could ever do that. Hence why we have so many accounts. But I don't want to be the reason that someone's hostage to their worst instincts. So I'm just uncomfortable with that. Maybe back down to 260. Well, so here's also the thing with that, Brian, which I've thought about doing so many times. So Pancake Swap has changed the way you can do stuff. So remember when we moved it from 250 to 2 and put it all into liquidity pool, I was able to go ahead and add Rhino to the market without subsequently adding the proportioned amount of money, in which case the liquidity pool had the same amount of money, but just more Rhino. Hence, each Rhino was worth less, but it was still the same amount. You can't do that anymore. I can't put Rhino in and not add the money. The only way I could do something like that is if I go ahead and sell Rhino for BUSD, and then for myself. So I'd be selling for myself BUSD. Then I take that BUSD, I send it over to the liquidity pool account, and I take that BUSD and I put it into Rhino. Now, of course, that sounds like it makes sense, but there's a lot of that I don't have 100% control over. Like, I don't know the price that it's going to bring it down to when I sell it. And since I don't do that, I don't know, I would have to do it a couple of times. Every one of those couple of times, I'm now wasting money in fees, and I'm losing 0.5% possibly of the Rhino because there's a slippage fee. And then how much am I spending in BNB, right, for the gas? Then I send it over, how much am I spending in BNB? And then I have to put it back into the market. And this movement, besides the fact that it's wasteful, and I just spoke about losing 60 cents. I have no interest in, I feel like I will get mad if I even start talking about it. When it comes to Rhino, there's in no world is someone just, okay, $1 here. No, go kick rocks, like, get out of here. But be that as it may, that transaction log is yucky, right? Like, you come onto Rhino and you have a certain sense of normalcy. Then you come on and see Anthony's wallet selling this and bringing in BUSD, and then it's being sent over here, and then this much is going there, and then you're calculating. You're like, well, he sold 1,000 worth, but only 900 went to liquidity pool. Where the other 100 go? Well, the only way you can answer that question is if you were able to give me the benefit of the doubt to say that that's all slippage fees and BNB fees, but secondly, you'd have to actually have those fees to calculate in front of you. And third of all, you would say $100 was with fees and $1,000. I'm supposed to believe he paid 10% fees because if he did, that's not a good thing. You shouldn't be just wasting 10% of the money. But secondly, maybe I don't believe you. And these are Pandora's box. Like these are things I don't open. And that's me talking to you who's been here forever. What about somebody new? What about someone that's thinking to get into Rhino? Then they see that activity and they're like, because again, that's activity of a scam. It's not a scam here because I'm sharing it. Like I'm talking about the merits of it and why we would or would not do it, right? Like that's a different ballgame. But in terms of anyone that was looking to get into something, they would simply say themselves, oh, look, the lead wallet, the wallet with all the Rhino, look at it, it's already selling into the market. Yeah, it's taking some and putting it in there, but it's now clipping. I could see it now clipping 100 here, 100 here, 100 here. And not only is that unfair for us, right? Like I don't want anyone that's ever in a position, because for someone to make that assessment, they're fairly knowledgeable. Like to see that means you've seen it before, which means if you've seen it before, you've been in a position that you've been on a high level and you could identify stuff like that. It's not fair to Rhino to ever put ourselves in a position that if we gain the attention of somebody that can move things, like someone that's like a real decision maker in terms of having a high net worth, it's not fair to Rhino to put it in a position that that person would, oh no, I, I, I don't want any part of it. Yeah, maybe they're the one that didn't do it, but not interested. So it's just, I know I sound crazy, right? Like that probably, I just went on a tirade. Like that was probably, you could institutionalize me for what I just said. But that's just the way I think. Like, okay, if this happens and this is. It reminds me, I used to actually bartend when I was younger. When I was around like 24. I left finance and I wanted to take a summer off. So I was 25. And I went from like really, really, high Wall Street type stuff. And I was working at a tiki bar on the beach in Long Branch, New Jersey. My family's like, what is wrong with you? You're working on Wall Street and then you're bartending at a tiki bar. I was like, I just need a change. And plus, it helped being fun and personable and I guess easy on the ice for some girls, right? Because and the people I worked with were because it was a really great place. So all the people that had those bartending jobs kept them because it was such money makers. So the other bartenders there were really, really a lot older. Um, the point being, if you were say 30 or younger, or even 35 or younger, there was a clear choice. Do I want someone in their 20s or I want someone in their 50s, right? And that's nothing bad. It's just, it was a stark difference. And I was always a hard worker, so I was able to work with them. In fact, they loved me. They're like, because you see me here, I was the same way bartending. So they actually got to hang out a little bit. Oh, Anthony's doing it. Anthony's doing it. And I didn't care, right? So I eventually started working at this place, Avenue. It was this like 5-star French restaurant on in Pier Village on the boardwalk in Long Branch. And we had this French manager, to this day, best manager I've ever had in my life. The meanest guy. In fact, he made me cry every day. Well, not cry every day, but every day I want to like shoot myself. I would go into work with the one goal. Can I just have a day that I don't mess something up? Like, please let him just not yell at me today. Just one day he doesn't yell at me. Because it was very strict, but he also, things, especially French, like I'm talking like 5-star French, things run the way they run. We're French. You do what I tell you to do. I don't care, right? Like I saw somebody with oysters once and they were unshucked. And he goes, excuse me, my oysters aren't shucked. He goes to their table, takes their fork, shucks. He goes, was that so fucking hard? And walks away. And you look at it and you're like, oh my God, like how could that? And the person just ate their oysters because that's the type of place it was. That was the type of culture. So there was one time where these 4 ladies came in and they offered 4 little cocktails, champagne cocktails. 3 of them had a garnishment. The 4th one didn't. They were all taking pictures together with, the cocktails. It was a wedding, whatever it was. So I made a judgment call and I put a garnish on the 4th one. And he saw from across the room, knew exactly what I did, knew what the drink was, and came up to me. He's like, why did you do that? And I was like, well, I made a judgment. I don't want your judgment call. I make it the way it is. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I just, they're taking pictures. He goes, let me, and it's so funny because his next sentence actually did stay with me for my entire life, hence why I'm talking about it right now. But I thought it was so crazy. He goes, let me tell you what's about to happen. Those 4 little bitches. Like, of course, they just would so mean about everyone. But I feel like I'm saying something rude about him. Like I shouldn't have said that. But at the same time, that's just him. And I love people for who they are. So that's who he is. And they're going to take pictures, right? And then they're going to come back in. Or somebody who saw their pictures are going to come back in. And they're going to ask for that drink. And that bartender is going to know how to do his fucking job and not give them the garnishment. And then that lady's going to complain. She's going to write on Yelp, and the whole place is going to go out of business because of you. And I was like, oh my God, you're like certifiably insane. Like you're absolutely out of your mind. Only later in life did I realize how right he actually was. There's standards to stuff, and you need to control as many variables as possible. You can't go ahead and create a scenario that's not consistent, because then what you do is you leave it to the other person to decide why it wasn't consistent. And when you do that, you open up Pandora's box that you can't handle anymore. It just goes 1,000 places. So that's a really long story about 25-year-old Anthony that I felt like telling. Just to go ahead and share how I felt this morning. So it's like, okay, Ant, you put it all into the Rhino box. Who really cares? And like Brian said, you could just do this and do this. But I thought about that, and the way that I think was exactly what I just represented to you. So welcome to the mind of Anthony. So long story short, Rhino Bucks has a new all-time high. Rhino wealth. So while I was jogging this morning, I'm thinking about the insane presentation I'm going to put together for this individual. Because the thing about Rhino, and the thing about any business for that matter, like for instance, if you had a home decorator, right? You were thinking about hiring a home decorator, and she said, meet me at my house and we'll go from there. And you walk in and the house looks like complete shit. What are you thinking? Like, how good do I expect you to do for my house if your house looks like this? And you might say, well, the lady's so busy she can't do her own house. But well, then you're not really that passionate. You don't love it because you don't live it. It's just a job. Like you're a worker. You're not a dreamer. And those people are different. Rhino's not a job. It's a dream. So every component of Rhino is Rhino. So for instance, when we're sharing what we believe things to be, and how important this moment is to get there, and how adding this one thing could be the difference, or we believe could be the difference. If that's true, well, what does that mean? What does that mean to Rhino? Well, apparently it should mean the whole world. You want it that badly. Well, if that's true, would Rhino ever send a one-page like, okay, here are the terms, let me know if you're interested? No. Meaning the presentation has to be commensurate and validate what the person is asking for and showing what they believe it to be. Like if you could I see how many hours this took. I don't need you to tell me. I know what you're presenting, and I know how much work this took. And there's no guarantees in life. I haven't said yes to you once, but for you to do this, okay, I get it. I see how important this is, right? So I want that to be the takeaway. And I've identified what that looks like thus far. So I'm actually going to be spending all day doing that. I purchased a stock option 2 days ago. And what's funny is when you're doing stock options, these are the things that make people go out of business. They go to zero. 99% expire worthless. So if you're sitting in front of people actually deciding how you're explaining how you're deciding, and then why you decided, and what's your limits and your parameters, it doesn't always work out, but sometimes it does. And we bought it 2 days ago, and we just sold it this morning for a 30% profit, and very publicly. I mean, we sent out emails every single day. We were live talking about it every single day. In fact, of all the calls that I ever get on in my life, 11 o'clock I know is going to be a great one, because it's, I'm never going to take a victory lap. I really won't. Because my idea of victory is not, having one stock do the right thing. It's much bigger than that. But to be on a call where like others are like waiting for your victory lap, that's exciting. So I'm really excited about that. And it's just one of those things where hard work pays off. It wasn't an accident. It took a lot of years. I've been doing stocks since I was like 10 years old. So that's really exciting. So Rhino Wealth is kicking so much butt, and maybe we'll get more people into it. Let's use this as a marketing effort, right? Oh, so I know I didn't send an email last night because I wasn't able to, because the email that I want to send is not what you're going to get, that sounded rude, but what I'm going to be able to send tonight. So I was able to actually have that meeting with my team. By the way, I was at a doctor's office, just so you know, like how insane Rhino is. I was at a doctor's office that went too long. It was 3:51. My call was at 4 o'clock. I was like, I got to get on a call. They're like, well, what do you want me to tell you? I go, do you have an extra office in here? Because I need to get on a call with my team. They go, we don't have extra. This is a doctor's. I go, let me make this very clear, doc. I need an office. So a lady comes out, she goes, well, actually, because she like heard me from a distance, there is one available. I was like, thank you. So I'm actually talking in an office, in a doctor's office that I have no idea. I'm just like, but anyway, I was able to record it. And I was really surprised. A lot of good. So every part of the vision that I shared in that video is possible. When your tech team confirms it, then you're okay, like let's do this. And again, we pushed back a couple of times, like we have it, we need to map it out now, but everything is possible. And that's really cool. I'm going to edit that video, add it to the other video, put that together as one video, get that out tonight. I have all weekend because I'm not behind on anything. I'm like right there with everything. So I can actually spend this. And again, I still work 12 hours Saturday and Sunday or more. So that's comfortable to me to know I could get this stuff done then. So everything's good. That's the that's the what's it called? The State of the Union for Rhino. I think I touched everything. So anyway, love everyone. I hope you're enjoying life. I hope my craziness doesn't scare you off too much. It's just I guess it could be worse, right? I guess I could be like, oh yeah, those $100 were fees. Don't you worry about it. And you're like, seriously, you run this thing and you're just throwing $100 here and there. That will never be the case. So I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow.